This city's golden and deep. I don't want around to judge me. I can see clearly when you're I said, no, I can't sleep 'cause I think too much. Cause I can see the sun right up the sky. So I hit the road in overdrive, baby. Oh, the city's cold and empty. I don't want to look around to judge me. I can see clearly when you're gone. And I said, no, I can't sleep 'cause I think too much. I said, I'm in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you don't want nights. I'm just I can never say it on the phone. Will never let you go this time. I said, the lights. No, I can't sleep 'cause I think too much. I said, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep 'cause I think too much. Day and night, you know it. Keep with me in the moment. I'd say it had I known it. Why don't you say so? Didn't even notice. No punches left to roll with. You got to keep me focused. You know I'd say so. Day and night, you know it. Keep with me in the moment. I'd say it had I known it. Why don't you say so? Didn't even notice. No punches left to roll with. You got to keep me focused. You know I'd say so.
Do you mind if I try it one more time before we get started?
Absolutely fine.
Okay. I think it might help if I.
And we can dance all day around it. If you front, then I'll be back.
Okay, there we go. All right, can you see it scrolling?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah? Okay. Let me try one more thing just to see. And then Chris, if I pull this up, do you see the website? Do you see the museum's
So I still see
website?
your slide.
You still see my slides? Okay, let me see.
Yeah.
How about now? You still see my slides?
Yes.
Yeah, still the slides? Okay. What I might just have to do is just stop share. My husband tried to set something up for me to do it like to toggle back and forth.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's going to work. So it's okay. I can go back and forth. Can you see the website now?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just do it that way. It's all good. All right. I'm going to stop sharing so you can put yours back up and I will pull mine up in a little bit. Let's see.
Just let me adore you. Oh, honey. Walk through fire for you. Just let me adore you. Like it's the only thing
Welcome. Good morning, everyone. Nothing like a little kids bop Valentine weekend. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's event. And my computer is now frozen. My name is Dr. Wood. I didn't want more kids bop. 1 second. My name is Dr. Wood, and I am literacy faculty in the School of Education and have the honor to serve as the chair of the Virginia Hanson Committee. On behalf of the Virginia Hanson Committee and the School of Education, Arts Opportunity, and the San Marcos Writing Project, I'd like to welcome you today to our event, Community Resources and STEAM Lessons from the New Children's Museum. First, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about today's event sponsors. The Virginia Hanson Endowment Fund has a curriculum committee, and I'm going to show you Virginia Hanson. This is Virginia Hanson. Virginia Hanson dedicated her life to being the best teacher possible for the children in her care. As a cooperating teacher, she helped numerous student teachers hone their skills. In 1998, the Virginia Hanson Endowment Fund was established in the CSUSM School of Education through the generosity of Mr. Victor Hanson. It is intended to honor the work and memory of his wife, Virginia. The School of Education uses part of the endowment funds for materials in the CSUSM Hanson Library, which is located on the 5th floor, and sponsors the Virginia Hanson Speaker Series. Over the years, speakers have provided innovative best practices for current and future teachers. In this way, the Hanson family is assured that Virginia's legacy lives in the hearts and minds of teachers in San Diego. Our second sponsor is Art Equals Opportunity. Art Equals Opportunity is led by Dr. Goldberg, and it is a research-based movement that provides leadership training, literacy residencies, summits, workshops, art integration boot camps, and special events like today for educators, parents, youth, and teens, and arts providers. Arts Equals Opportunity focuses on providing access to the arts for all children through exemplary educational practices based in arts integration and arts education. To learn more, please explore their website, use the tools that you may find there, follow them on social media, and stay connected for our upcoming events. Woohoo! Our third sponsor today is the San Marcos Writing Project, led by Dr. Stoll. It is one of 196 sites of the National Writing Project, 17 of which are in California. It is a professional development network of teachers whose goal is to improve student writing achievement by improving teaching and learning in our nation's schools. The Writing Project is a resource for teachers in school districts, and information can be found, oops, I forgot to change my slide, on their website as well. That information is also located on the School of Education website. I'd just like to mention some upcoming events. We have Amy here today. We have Alex Owens, who will be talking about podcasting from Be Loud Studios in New Orleans in March. And then we have Christine Dixon, integrating STEAM into virtual learning environments in April. Before you leave today, if you can just please take a moment, I will be putting a survey in the chat. It's really important that we get your feedback to help us decide on other professional development opportunities. So today, it is my honor to turn it over and introduce you to just a most inspiring and creative Amy Gray from the New Children's.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. And I just want to say, I'm overwhelmed in a positive way by the turnout. Thank you for taking the time to be here on your Saturday morning. I hope to make it worth your while. I am, as Dr. Wood shared, my name is Amy Gray. My full title is Senior Manager, Arts Education and Community Programs at the New Children's Museum. But in brief, I am the education manager, and I have been in this kind of role for quite some time, believe it or not. I actually started as a credentialed teacher in the visual arts and worked within the school system. I did that for several years and then found my way into the museum world. What I like about the museum world is that it's collaborative. I really missed working with others, and that's something that I get to do every day. And the New Children's Museum, I joined their team about 5 years ago. And since that time, I, in my role, have been essentially overseeing the creation and facilitation of arts experiences. And that's kind of that broad term. And it's a really wonderful, creative, inspiring space, which I hope you get to visit when we do reopen. But in the meantime, I'm going to share with you today how you can experience the museum in this current time. And I want to share that for all of you who have tuned in, the focus today is really to talk about the journey of the museum over the last year, what it's been like as a hands-on children's museum to transition in this time of the pandemic, to transition from our former identity to really what we are now and how we are trying to continue to deliver our mission in the best way possible, in most cases virtually, and what that's been like and some of the things that we've learned, and of course, to share the content we've created, which I hope, if it's not readily of use to you, that you might know someone who you can tell about it, because we are creating this for our community and we hope that it is helpful. And we also welcome feedback on it. So I will share a couple more things about myself. Since joining the museum, I have become a parent myself. I am the mom to two very energized boys, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I bring this up because I think it has impacted how I do my position at the museum. I program for all ages. We really serve all ages, but our kind of bread and butter is ages 2 to 10. But as a mom of early learners, I'm thinking in that way. And I like to think that that has helped us to create programs that are really serving caregivers, other caregivers of early learners. It's also just helped me be, I believe, a better mom and a better teacher, being in that space and thinking about child development, thinking about what the power of arts and play, which is what we're all about, how arts and play can change lives. And I fully believe that. And if you don't, that's okay, but I hope you might change your mind by the end of this presentation. So I want to share with you, I've shared with you a little bit about my journey, but now I want to share the journey of the museum. So I am going to pull up my screen and let's see. Okay, can everybody see? Can we see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so this
Yes.
is thank you, the exterior of the New Children's Museum. And if you haven't been there before, let me share a little bit about our museum's history. The museum has essentially been a museum for 30 plus years. We started as a small kind of pop-up experience in the UTC Mall, and then ultimately found our way downtown. We have been this iteration of ourselves since 2008. So this version of the Children's Museum is what we call a new model of Children's Museum. We are arts-based, and we actually work alongside contemporary artists to collaborate on the creation of spaces. And these installations are about play, they're about the arts, and they're really not fully themselves until children are in it. So right now, with the museum closed, it doesn't feel like us when you go into the museum. It doesn't have the energy and the dynamism that our museum typically does. But what we're trying to do is fuel that feeling into our virtual offerings. Now, the New Children's Museum is a really incredible place. I will say, when I first joined the museum, one of the things that struck me most, coming from, I should mention, I came from a traditional art museum before joining the New Children's Museum. And I stepped in here. This was very different. It was a place that was all about touching. I was coming from a place where we put our hands behind our backs or led students through the museum in that way. So it took me a little time to get accustomed to that, but ultimately I embraced it. What I also found to be true of the museum and its staff was that they are an innovative group and they think innovatively. And one of the things that I think is critical to just being an innovator is to be willing to experiment and try. And I have never heard the word prototype used more in an organization than ours. And we are all about prototyping. And I bring this up because I think that that has been critical to our kind of re-envisioning ourselves as we have moved through the last year and what it has brought to us. You know, in this time of dramatic change, it has been something that we have took a breath, but then ultimately embraced and figured out how to pivot. And we are used to pivoting, so that wasn't out of our experience. But before we closed, I want to tell you what was happening at the museum. So first and foremost, I mentioned we are a space with installations that are experiential art. So they are about playing in them and exploring these creations that are art pieces. So this is a work created by an artist alongside our creative team, but using this artist practice. And one of the things about all of our installations is kind of similar to a very, beloved stuffed animal. With time and love, they get worn out. So when artists come on board to work with us, it really has to be a particular person who's open to that happening. These works are essentially ephemeral, and they are ultimately loved to death, and then we have to switch them out. But we do have ones that stay around for quite some time, and we go through and repair them because they are beloved by our community. This is a fairly newer installation called Wamick, but this one has quickly become a favorite among our members and among our visitors. And we look forward to bringing people back into it when we reopen. In addition to our arts installations, we hosted a variety of programs. So we welcome different groups into the museum. This is kind of where my purview really was. So my work and the work of the team I work with is more behind the scenes, but it's still embedded in that belief of the importance of arts education, the importance of experience with the arts. And so we would welcome school groups to the museum on pretty much a daily basis. We hosted camps. We had a fairly robust camp program, particularly in the summer season. It was a very big focus for the arts education team, and it took a whole village to run it. We hosted classes. So these were classes for all ages, but we really focused on thinking about the age of the child and the kind of delivery that would make the most sense for them. So when it came to our littlest learners, they might be learning alongside their caregiver. Our older learners are, looking for that independent opportunity for discovery and their own space, and we embraced that and provided it to them. Our Innovators Lab is our on-site makerspace. Our Innovators Lab is a space where typically when the museum was open, one could drop in for a workshop. This might be a guided workshop. The projects presented were developed by our on-site team, but also in collaboration with different corporations, for example, SDG&E, Cox Communications, and together those teams would develop a primarily science and technology centered experience. We would also have open making. So when we weren't hosting a guided workshop, a child 6 and up, and it was very important to keep that distinction. So it felt like a space for our older children in the museum, that they could come in, kind of explore the materials that were available and take it in their own direction. And then our team would be on site to support them. If they needed a hand, if they got stuck, we would be there as sort of to jump in and guide, maybe to demonstrate the use of particular tools. We have a 3D printer and other tools like that that we would on occasion bring out and allow them to experience. Toddler time, I want to share toddler time because this is or was a very popular once a week program for our earliest learners and their caregivers to do together. We would host story times, music making, art. Finger painting Fridays was hands down the most popular every month. And as a caregiver to two little ones, I get that. We would put the tarps down and make it happen. But it was really a wonderful program that you'll see as I continue to share, that we wanted to hold on to and continue to offer out in the best way we could. So the pandemic happened, and of course it's affected all of us in various ways. As I mentioned, a hands-on children's museum, we really had no choice but to close our doors mid-March 2020. And when that first happened, it was, I think, a shock to all of us in that we had to pause and think, what do we do now? We are a community resource, or we see ourselves that way, and we want to be able to continue to reach our community, but how can that be done in a safe way? How can that be done in an effective way? Like many organizations, we knew we had to become virtual. And that's kind of the crux of this conversation, is that was where we were. And then as soon as our doors closed, the virtual realm became our new territory for exploration and prototyping. And so what we started with was, we had our full team in the beginning, and our marketing team decided we needed to have a virtual presence. What could that look like? We were all fairly new to doing this kind of programming. We dabbled in it, but really hadn't had a lot of history. Most of our programming had been delivered on site or in the community face to face. So to shift in that way was tough, but we all embraced it. As I said, we typically do. We said, let's give it a try. And what it started with was all of our team being invited to just take videos of themselves, and we would offer those out via our social media forums. So Facebook, Instagram, our website. That could be a staff member cooking something, making an art project, singing a song. I had a colleague who introduced viewers to the figurines on her shelf and talked about them. And this may sound a little random, but it actually worked. And I think the reason it worked initially is because it was genuine, because it was coming from all of us who were most interested in staying connected with our community. And I think what united the voice in all of these initial videos was we were talking to children. So we were focusing on who we felt really needed to hear from us, to keep connected to us. I think it's important to mention that, we really value the relationship we have with our members and the community. Our floor team in particular, those who were on the floor in the installations, in our art studio spaces, delivering our school visits, they created relationships with our members. They created relationships with children, with their grown-ups. And there were those families that would come on a daily basis. And so to lose all of that was dramatic, not just for us, but for them. And we wanted them to continue to get to see us, to continue to get to interact with us in the best way we could figure out. So that's where we started. And I think, like I said, it worked initially. Then, like many organizations, I'll just be upfront, we underwent some unfortunate but necessary changes to survive that time period. So the majority of our staff were front-facing staff. They were the ones that were, as I said, working with our visitors face-to-face. Without that visitor experience, we were basically facing a huge change to our revenue and our situation. A majority of our revenue comes from our admissions. And without that, we don't have that revenue, and we need to figure out a way to work around it. So I was not privy to all of this, but the decision was made to make some hopefully temporary changes to our staff, and our team was reduced quite dramatically. As an example, I had started the year as overseeing a team of 9 within arts education. With the changes that happened, it became just me. And so that also set parameters around what we could do and how we could do it. And in my own case with arts education, I just had to go back to my roots of teaching. I had to become the one who was creating the content again, rather than just managing the oversight and the distribution of it. And I had to embrace this new realm of the virtual world. So we all ended up doing that. And from that came what you see here. So Think, Play, Create from Home. This is our, I would say, our new entry point into the museum. When you had previously visited, you would come through this really inviting, I feel, rainbow bridge created. It's a mural created by an artist, Ponka, who I'll introduce later. And it welcomes you in with literally with smiles into the museum space and our main level. With the museum closed, our new sort of bridge has become our website. And that landing zone, that entry point is now Think, Play, Create from Home. And this is a site that houses, as you can see here, a real array of, I would call them explorations. So what you see here are some of the things that we have created in this last year. Virtual content, different angles. I won't go through everything, but some of it I will be talking about later. But I'll let you know, this is what stuck. So this isn't the only work that we did. It's just what we felt was working and what we stuck with. Again, that experimental side, we want to try, and if we fail, we fail. We keep going. So this is now where you can access us through videos, through what we've created and are sharing out. It's how you can access the museum through virtual tours. It's how you can see the space again. It's how you can access some of the updates that have happened. Even in this time of closure, we are continuing to update ourselves. As I think I mentioned, the new Children's Museum continues to be called the new Children's Museum because there's always something new happening. We make a new project, a new program, a new installation, and that hasn't changed. It's continuing to happen, just behind the scenes even more than usual. These are downloadable lesson plans. I'll talk more about the content here and what we've created, but I just wanted to share that separate page. And then toddler time from home. So one of the things that we started with after just fully jumping into videos and offering whatever we could was when our staffing changed, when we realized that our constraints were greater than they had been even a month before, we decided that we needed to start with what we knew, what was familiar, and what seemed to matter most to our previous visitors, community, families who were connected to us. And I think I mentioned Toddler Time was a very well attended program, and it was one that our attendees had come to count on every week. So we wanted to keep that going. We didn't have the people power to do anything live. And I want to mention that because a lot of what I'm going to share with you content-wise is pre-recorded, and that comes down to staffing constraints. But down the line, as we reopen, as we rebuild, I really hope we can do more live happenings. But Toddler Time has worked pretty well. So what I'm going to try now, and I hope it'll work, I'm going to stop sharing here. And I'm going to try sharing a different screen. So here we go. Let's see if you can see that. Can you see the website? It says Creative Resources.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'll just mention as a side note, my husband works in IT. So it's been really wonderful in this last year to have him home with me. He is not here right now. He is taking care of our two boys. So he got me all set up, but he's not here. So if something goes wrong, I will troubleshoot. But I wanted to share this with you. So if you go to our, oops, okay, that's not that then. Let's try that again. Let's see. Okay, well, I'm going to do it this way then. Let me exit that and see if I can share. Let me just see if I can pull something up. Okay. My husband decided to help me out and offer me his computer, which is great, but I'm not accustomed to it. So I'm going to go to, just bear with me as I try to pull this up. I'm going to our website. I want to share with you some videos. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see that again. Now this time I'm hoping it's a functioning website. Yes, great. So we are here. Let me go back to, this is the homepage of the website. And I want to share this because I want to give you the avenues for exploring all of this content I'm going to share with you. When you get to the homepage, you'll see creative resources, under which you'll see Think, Play, Create from Home. So this is how you get to that landing page I had shared before. Just click on Learn More. And then go down here. So here's this menu of options. I'm going to click on Toddler Time. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is I want to show you one of the first Toddler Time videos we did. And the reason is it really sets the stage for what we decided to do that from that point forward. And this one was created with myself and my children. My husband stepped in to be the sort of impromptu videographer. We were outside playing, and we still had this sort of mission as a team to create content as it came to us. I was about to do a water painting with my son, who at the time was 3. And I said, why am I not filming this? So that's really how it happened. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't planned. I threw on my museum t-shirt and gave it a shot. So if you go and you click on one of our Toddler Times, you'll see it's in a blog post form, and then you scroll down and you can see the video. I'm hoping that this will play and you'll be able to hear it. So Toddler Time. Let's pull that up a little. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear it.
Thank you for those who keep answering me. Thank you.
That lady looks like you.
Yeah, a little bit. So I wanted to share that because, again, this was early on as we were developing content. What happened there and what we later embraced was the rawness of it, the realness of it. So again, I am just there in a real moment with my children and wanting to share that experience with other caregivers out there. I didn't overthink it, and my child is there in the experience with me, offering his real response to what is happening. And we took all of that and thought that's what we need to be. We want to stay connected to our audience. And part of that is to be genuine, is to be ourselves, is to model what our experience is in our own homes. So I literally invited our families that had come to the museum, our members, into my home and shared my experiences with my children. I will say that at no time did it become unfun. And I emphasize that because if at any time it had felt a little bit too much work, or felt like it was putting stress on my own children, I would not have done it. What it actually allowed me to do was to celebrate my work at the museum and being now a caregiver working from home with my 2 toddlers with me, and to bring those two together and to blend my worlds even more than I had. And as the only member of the education team at that point, I had to do what I could to make content and hopefully make it helpful and worthwhile to our community. So I'm going to stop sharing that and share my PowerPoint again. I'll share with you later another toddler time that a little more progressed. This is from another toddler time, a little bit later down the road. We did do ultimately a series called Little Learning from Home. We had done classes on site at the museum with families. These were 6-week-long classes that really allowed them to connect together. So we tried to embrace that with Little Learning from Home by sharing an overarching topic, in this case, outdoor explorers, and then really inviting feedback, inviting conversation and sharing between those who signed up for it. And it worked to a degree. It did work to a degree. We had a lot that we learned from it as well. The next program I want to share about is Innovators Lab. So Innovators Lab, you heard me share before, was our makerspace that we could not host in the same way, but we wanted to continue to bring that spirit of STEAM, the spirit of, you know, really exploring materials, discovery, learning things through trial and error. We wanted to embrace that and share that out. And so what we came up with was a weekly challenge, a design challenge for 6 and up, although anyone could take part in it to do. The way that we designed this was to keep it simple. We were always thinking about what our families might have available at home and trying to work with home-based materials. If they didn't have it, then we tried to offer alternatives. And mostly it wasn't about, you have to have this. It was about, here's a starting point. How can you build on that? And what can you literally build? In this case, this is a design challenge that has a little teaching element to create plarn, plastic yarn. And then we invite the innovator, I would say, to take it in their own direction. So these are some of the results of some of our participants. We did continue our partnerships with those corporations, and in some cases their families were the ones who tested things out beforehand, and then we brought their pictures of their end results or their in-process moments and shared them in the video itself. My time and see. If we have time, I can go back and share one of these videos. I think I'm going to keep moving, but again, you can access this all through that same homepage of Think, Play, Create from Home, Creative Resources, Innovators Design Challenges. We kept these going for many months. We have not, I will share, we have not updated it of late, but we do have something coming up around the corner that I'll talk about towards the end of the presentation that ties into these same concepts. Our virtual school visits. So our school visit program was, before the closure, bringing in approximately 12,000 students a year into the museum on almost a daily basis. The experience that they would have, they had sort of a menu to choose from, but essentially it was a chance to play in the installations and then do something hands-on. And that hands-on experience might be sort of step-by-step art project with open direction at the end, or it might be a design challenge. And it was typically about a 2-hour time frame. So what we found is we were thinking about the audiences that we felt maybe needed us most, who we had been serving before. Educators and students were an audience that I personally think a lot about, and from my own experience, but also from my role at the museum. And we wanted to make sure that we were supporting them. So we got a lot of feedback from educators we know. We held some focus groups to get a little bit more concrete information on what educators needed. And this was around the summer of 2020. And what we were hearing was they needed content. They needed content, ideally, that could supplement what they were already, of course, bringing to the digital learning experience for their students. They missed field trips. Field trips we knew pretty certainly were not going to happen in the 2019-2020 academic year. We knew that through June at least they were out. But in truth, I think that field trips are probably going to be one of the last things to return. They were, in our experience, one of the first things to drop off. When before we closed, we had a lot of field trips being canceled. So I think from all of that, we have gathered that having an alternative is incredibly important, and putting thought and time into what we're offering is important. So we wanted to put together a 2-hour experience, something that could supplement what it would be like to be at the museum, introducing the spaces, introducing ourselves. It couldn't just be a video though, because that isn't what the museum experience is. It's not just seeing, it's doing. And so what we did was we put together not only a playful tour where you get to travel around the spaces with, again, myself, I'm on video more than I like, but myself and my colleague, Megan Dickerson, who is our Director of Exhibition Development. So the two of us kind of co-host this virtual tour. And then throughout that experience, the participant gets to do something hands-on. So you visit the Wonder Sound. This is one of our most beloved spaces. The Wonder Sound is an incredible play space full of discovery moments created by the artist Wes Bruce. And within this space, as I said, it's a lot to discover, a lot to encounter. So we take the students through that as best we can and sort of have some surprise moments. But then the experience that they get to do alongside that is to do a decoding activity. So we give them a decoder so that they can decode some of the hidden messages found within the Wonder Sound. And this is something we would do with them on site as well. This artist, Wes Bruce, created not only this beautiful space and the vision of what it is, but he created a language that is embedded literally in the walls of the Wonder Sound. And you can go along, discover the language and all of these messages, as well as the key to all of the letters so that you can decode. And so we take students through that experience just offsite. Another one is Sketch Aquarium. So if you've been to the museum and you've been in here, you may know you go into this museum or you go into this space and it's like you have literally entered into an aquarium. This is in a closed room. The lights are low. It's a little colder than most of the places in the museum, just by nature of where it's located. But it really works because you walk in and you've got a full wall of what you see projected here, which is an interactive aquarium. And the sea life within that has been designed by participants themselves, by our visitors. You can draw on a template and then upload it into the screen, and you can see your sea creature roaming through the aquarium and interacting with the other sea life. And we did our best to share that feeling and then give the participants the opportunity to create their own sea life. And what we haven't done yet, but may do down the road, is figure out how to, for those that are interested, gather these and sort of upload them into the screen and share that out more publicly. I think that would really key into what this whole experience is about. So that's something we've been thinking about. And then one last piece, and this again is not the whole tour, just nuggets of it. We take them to the Innovators Lab. We present them with a design challenge and we give them prompts and they get to take it in their own direction. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned, but all of the materials needed for all of these happenings are given to the students. We are very fortunate that we've had funding from the California Arts Council to support bringing Title I schools to our museum in this academic year. So we just pivoted and said, we're going to take that funding, we're going to create a virtual tour, we're going to create kits that go to each student who is taking part in this experience with all the materials they need, a booklet to follow along, instructional sheet for the educator. And, and because of the funding we received, we were able to offer this freely to Title I schools. So we have been doing so since early October of 2020. Our goal had been to reach, all told, through the academic year, so up through this coming May, 3,000, to get 3,000 kits into the hands of students. At this point, we have done about 8,000, and our goal is now 10 or 11 by the end of the academic year. It's a really worthwhile venture that we all believe in, and we would love to do it even more. But I have to say, and you may all know this, kit creation, this kind of work, even though it's not the time of being in front of the students and interacting with them and doesn't require the staff support for that, it requires a lot of behind the scenes work, and every kit has to be hand assembled. And so we came together as a small but mighty team, and we've been assembling these kits. We've actually had our visitor services manager, who at present is not doing that role in full, and she has taken over as the kit assembly manager. So she is daily working on putting together these spaces for ourselves and now a small group of volunteers to contribute to making kits so that we can continue to get them out to teachers. And as you'll see in a minute, to a wider group as well. So it's been really important to have that. And I will say that's been very motivating for all of us. We've had some really great feedback from educators about the experience and thanking us. I will also say the survey feedback we've received has been overwhelmingly positive and supportive of our efforts and the continuation of them. What I have seen more often than not at the end of survey, where the educator is invited to just share other thoughts, is something along the lines of, my students loved the experience. They can't wait to visit the museum when you reopen. So this is great. It's not quite enough, and we know that. And our hope is, if nothing else, it's a way for us to stay connected until we can reopen and welcome them back into the museum and share this with them in full. So until then, we're really happy that we're able to do something. The last thing I'll mention about school visits is that we are going to do more with that program. So right now we're offering this set recording, this set experience, but the museum has been changing. So behind the scenes, and unbeknownst to some, although we have been publicizing it, we've been creating spaces in our museum while it's been closed. This is a recent installation by Regan Russell. Regan Russell designed this amazing mural called Energized, and this lives on actually our Innovators Lab wall. This is about the interaction of color and light, and you can see the beautiful reflection that it creates inside the museum space. This is an experience and an installation we want to share with students. So we are planning to do a revised version of our tour in the summer and then offer it out late summer or early fall, which we feel that the virtual realm is going to continue to some degree. So this, even if field trips do resume on site at the museum, we'll keep the virtual ones going as best we can to continue to give that experience to the widest group. What happened then, after the summer, after we've designed this school visit experience, is we realized that we had other groups, other partners that we wanted to continue to serve and partner with and figure out creatively together how to keep our efforts going. The idea of creating art kits in place of the previous experience, which had been bringing, for example, social service agencies partnered with us to bring youth to the museum to experience the installations and then do something hands-on. We couldn't do that. Those kinds of partnerships we see kind of on a similar timeline to schools. We don't see that experience in that way resuming for a while, but we want to keep helping. So we talked to them, we had conversations. We said, what could the experience look like? What are you comfortable with? What can you help facilitate? And what that came down to was art kits. And these are projects that we had designed, had been offering through different means, and now we have packaged them into lesson plans with all materials needed. We make no assumptions. So if a pencil is needed, we put a pencil in there. If scissors are needed, scissors are included. And we partner with at this point, it's 11 different community organizations through our Partners in Creativity program. And because of that partnership, we are able to get kits out to them on a monthly basis. Before the closure, we had been welcoming probably close to 100 participants through Partners in Creativity. Since the closure and with this shift, we're now doing closer to 400 kits each month. So it has increased our reach in that way. And for some partners, it has made it easier. I mean, to be real, the obstacles of a group coming to the museum are there. Just coordinating that effort, getting them physically to the museum site, having the staff available to travel with them. It's just, we all work with constraints, and it's just not always possible or easy. And so I think what we will see happen with this program and kind of the wider kit program is, if it works best for a group, then I hope we can keep it going in that way. And that's our plan. Now, these kits have gone out to our partners. They are also now offered for sale in our store. We also have a lot of people who we work with, including our board, who have generously purchased kits and then freely distributed them through different means. Maybe it's schools that they're connected with. We have one board member who is a pediatrician and took a large number of kits down to southern San Diego to provide to the families that she serves there. And so just through all kinds of support like that, we've been able to get these experiences into the hands of children. And you can see a couple one who has not quite gotten started on her project, but it looks excited to do it. And the one on the left who has just finished our plastic bag print lesson. So one of the other programs that I'm really glad we got to stick with is our work with the Lindsay Community School. This is a high school that serves pregnant and parenting teens. And we had a residency with them that started in early 2020. And we had to wrap it up early because of the closure, the lockdown. What we were hopeful for and what came later was renewed funding to continue this program. And so we knew we were going to start it in the early fall of 2020. We had the summer to think about it. We had the summer to bring back on board Christina Manningquill, our lead instructor. She's the one on the far left with the hoop earrings. Christina goes more informally by Miss Piggy Rock or Piggy. This is a kind of given family nickname. It is also her name that she gives herself for breakdancing. She is a breakdancer, a professional breakdancer, as well as a visual artist. She is a caregiver herself. She has children of her own, and she has personal history and tie-ins with the Lindsay Community School. So there was no question about bringing her back to work with the girls. And it's just been, quite honestly, incredible and exhilarating to see what she, and I give her most credit, has been able to make happen. So these students get to see Piggy once a week. We do live Zoom. She does live Zoom classes with them. They're connecting to each other is at the core of what this residency is about. Them being able to share their experiences with each other, form a community, which I'll be fair and say that Lindsay, if you're not familiar with that school, they are a community. They are a family. It's incredible what they've been able to foster between the students and the staff. But we wanted to be able to share arts experiences that center on self-expression, that center on self-reflection, and Piggy brings that to the program. This is just one example of one of her lesson plans. So Piggy is often introducing a variety of media and concepts from an arts learning perspective, but she's also tuning in more to the kind of the inner self and giving the girls the opportunity to to think about how through this artistic vehicle they can learn more about themselves and share more about themselves. Okay, so I'm going to get brave again, and I'm going to stop share here. And I want to give you a little dose of Piggy. She is, I think it's here that I want to go. She is a really wonderful instructor who, as I mentioned, is, let's see if it works, who is bringing not just her own love of arts education, love of people, and that's for real. She loves people, but she's also so skilled at tuning into what an audience needs. And she quickly formed a rapport with the girls and has been listening to them along the way to design these lessons and experiences for them. So if you want to find the lessons that Piggy is doing with the Lindsay Community School, I'm going to show you. It's a little bit roundabout, but there's reason for that. Instead of the creative resources page, you actually want to go to educator resources. And then there, I hope everybody can see this screen I'm sharing. You go to lesson plans. And then we are sharing Piggy's lesson plans and more through this forum. So I'm going to pull up Resist and Intersect. Well, that's interesting, that view. This, you will pull up the lesson, and then if you click on this link, you can pull up the video. I'll just keep it in this mode. Oops, pull it again.
Could you turn up the volume on the YouTube?
Thank you for that.
I'm so sorry, but we can't hear anything.
I believe there's an option if you go to where you're sharing to share your
Mhm.
computer audio so we can hear it.
Oh, okay, let's see.
So I think on the top screen and then view the options, and there should be somewhere there, I believe.
Okay, let's see. Oh, let me stop share for a moment, and I think what I need to do is this. Yes. Thank you.
There we go,
Yeah.
much better. Yes, perfect.
Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Mean to resist against barriers in life? What does it mean to identify a whole person? And what does that look like as we connect with other people in the world? Because there are many ways that we connect and intersect with people. We have stories and experiences that bring uniqueness to our lives, and we also have ways that we can relate to one another and connect. So before we get started, we're going to start with our tape and our canvas. And what we're going to do is create our first layer of intersections. So using your tape, you're going to create intersections covering your entire canvas.
I'm going to stop there. I just wanted to give you sort of a taste of Piggy and her approach, you know, different from the toddler time you saw before. She's speaking to the students. I think that's an important distinction. We have done that with some of our other tutorials, and she's really trying to give them sort of the foundation of thinking for the experience they're going to dive into. So it is about the art making, but it's also about their own reflection on the topics that she is bringing up. And I think they have to go together to create this full experience that she's designed. And Piggy is meeting with them weekly, but this is an opportunity for those who just can't make a class to see her, or if they need to, they can see her this way when class isn't happening. All right. Okay. Try that. If that doesn't work, I have an alternative. It's not letting me move forward on that, so it must be different. I will share that Piggy is now also helping to create our toddler time videos. And so she is contributing to that, which is super helpful. And she has that early childhood background. So that helps her with the Lindsay students because she is thinking about their own experience as caregivers. And she is bringing that into what she's offering them. And then with toddler time, she just brings that knowledge of, that knowledge of what developmentally children are needing, and really what caregivers also can get from any of these postings that we're putting out there. So I'll be really brief on this one. I hope you can see this. This is Mass Creativity. You can all see Ponca there. Mass Creativity is an annual program where we work with an artist in residence, and we create, ultimately, that artist creates a new installation at the museum. And historically, the way that this has worked is that this artist will partner with us, but also partner with a lot of our community organizations and the families that are involved, and through a series of workshops, kind of develop ideas for their ultimate installation, ensuring that the voice of the community is within whatever we create. That was really challenging this year. Ponca is our artist in residence. She is a painter and a muralist. You may have seen some of her work around town. She's had some installations recently at Bread and Salt. Ponca is incredible, has an amazing talent as well as imagination, and she wanted to share that with the community, and she wanted to invite them into her dreaming, if you will. So she is, for the installation, and I'll share later, creating a new space, a new world in the museum's lower level. And the way that she wanted to have our audience take part in that is through virtual workshops where she invited them to learn more about some of the characters she designed for that space. So this is one of those characters, and they get to come up with, she gives them sort of a starting point, and then they get to come up with how that character might, where they might live, what their space might look like, how they might behave in response to something. So all of that she gathered together, and that has helped inform what she's going to do. And then we also created some kits for the community to distribute closer to the holidays. That's what you see in this young person's hand. That was through our partner groups. So we were able to give a taste of Mass Creativity experience, not in full, but we are hopeful that the new year will allow a little bit more of the diving into working directly with our partners and exploring this, what would be a new installation in the end of 2021 together. So now I'm going to spend a little time, and I'm keeping a careful eye on my time because I want to save time for questions, but I'm going to spend a little time on what's become kind of my favorite avenue for all that we've done, and that is really diving into curriculum. Thinking about the educator, but really thinking about the educator as a broad term, educator as the teacher in the classroom, the virtual classroom right now, or in some cases on site, the parent educator, the homeschooling educator, pre-K educator, all of those individuals who have been working through what the pandemic has brought up and trying to provide experiences to the youth that they serve. And we have not before had a lot of time to think about updating our curriculum. We would do it sort of irregularly, and we were creating a lot with programs, but the time needed to really capture that and share it outwardly was not happening. And ironically, 2020, one of our words of motivation in the arts ed department was share. How can we share? So 2020 kind of allowed us to do that. We have designed a whole bank of curriculum. We started with lessons that we would just put up as blog posts, but then with time, we wanted to give it more meet. So we've enhanced them. Almost all of our, they're called DIY posts, which are for ages 4 and up, are a blog post, a lesson plan, a printable lesson plan, a video to accompany that. And within that whole experience are extension activity suggestions, the standards. We're really trying to tie into sort of all these areas that we hope are helpful to the educator out there. So this is one example. This is the DIY project for ages 4 and up, the Color and Light Catcher, which is inspired by Energize, the mural that I shared with you earlier by Regan Russell. And what I'm going to do, I know I just keep doing this, but I want to give you the experience of journeying through our website. And I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share how to find this and what it looks like on our website. Okay, so again, I'm going to go to the main page of the museum. I'm going to go to Creative Resources, click on Learn More. When you go there, you'll find your way down to all of this. The blog is where we host our projects for ages 4 and up. And you can scroll down and you can see we offer them on almost a weekly basis. You'll see a lot of my son Oliver in some of these pics. A lot of our toddler times include him. And we do put our toddler times on here as well as on their separate toddler time page. But let me click on the Color and Light Catcher so you can see exactly what you'd find if you clicked on one of these DIYs that we've done in the last several months. You'll find a blog. So the how-to via blog. And within that, you'll find a video embedded. So similar to the ones I've shown you with Piggy and our toddler time. You'll find a printable, downloadable lesson. You'll find the directions on the blog. So step by step, they're very pick heavy. That's part of what we're just thinking about in terms of accessibility. We're thinking about non-English speakers. We're thinking about just young people who receive information differently, and how we can, in our best way and with the time and resources we have, just design our lessons to be as inclusive as possible. And then as you scroll down towards the end, you'll hit additional learning activities. These are, again, extension experiences that tie into the concepts explored. Usually we incorporate literacy. I know Dr. Wood is a big fan, and I'm totally on her same board with that. Literacy is so important and such a great launch pad for thinking. And then the standards. And for our DIYs that are for ages 4 and up, those standards might be visual arts as well as other topics as they connect. So in this case, science as well. For our ages 4 and under, we're looking at the preschool learning foundation. So again, standards that are being followed by preschool educators for the most part, and those are our connection points for those lessons. I'm gonna stop sharing that. I invite you to go and explore those lessons. I'd love to hear your feedback. We are trying to access as much feedback as we can from those who have used it. Ask my husband later, what's going on that keeps throwing me out of this? That's okay. I'll just do from okay. So another, I don't know if you can actually see the topic here, but it's Groovy Dip Dye Art. I just want to emphasize again, in putting all of this together, one little kind of constraint I put on myself purposefully is I said, you have to be able to find the materials for this in your own home. So here I was just using paper towel and food coloring. And part of that was the accessibility piece again, just thinking about what our families might have at home, especially in the early part of the pandemic when getting out of the house was, well, quite frankly, scary for a lot of us. Closer to the time of resuming school, and I say, you know, the digital learning experience, we wanted to create projects that would really support young people, you know, designing their own learning space in their home, really embracing that new experience and giving them something that they could feel excited about, that would rev them up for the new school year. And then our toddler time. So these are, again, these are designed for ages 4 and under. This is carrying from that water painting video I shared early on, but they've gotten a little more meaty as well, extended. One launchpad has been to work with one of our partners, Words Alive San Diego. This is an organization that supports early literacy and provides resources to families for that, including books. And so they have a book list that they use and distribute titles from that list to families around San Diego. So we use that book as our book list as our reference and use those books as launch pads for activities. So this chalk painting came from that. And I am going to share this with you because I want to share with you what toddler time is now like. It's, again, still me a lot of the time, although Piggy stepped in, but it is a little bit more formal, but we're still embracing. I'll be honest, I only do one take. I have a now 4-year-old, he doesn't allow for more. So we do one take, and what happens there is we embrace. Go back. So if you want to find all of those toddler time posts, projects, go back to the initial page, go to Friday Toddler Time. I'm going to click now on Wet Chalk Painting. So this is inspired by a story called Chalk by Bill Thompson. It's a beautiful, beautifully illustrated book. I'm not going to say written because the story itself is fantastic, but it is a wordless picture book. And that experience of looking through a wordless book with your child really invites the two of you to create the story together. So let me play this. Tell me if you. A lot of it stayed the same. My cat just fell off the table. Hi, families. I'm Amy Gray, Education Manager at the New Children's Museum. I'm here with my son, Oliver. He's 3, almost 4. In 2 days. And today we're going to do a really fun inside project that could also be an outside project, inspired by a new favorite book of ours, Chalk by Bill Thompson. This is a story that you can actually find in the San Diego County Library System, or there are lots of readings of it online. And when I say that, they're not exactly the same story every time, because this book actually doesn't have any text at all. And what's wonderful about that is that it gives you the chance to sit down with your little one and make up the story together based on the pictures. But the general story is about a group of children who head to a park on a rainy day and find a magical bag of chalk. And when they draw pictures, those pictures come to life. So inspired by that, we're going to do wet chalk painting today. And the first thing we're going to do is make sure we have our materials. So what you'll need for this are a piece of black paper for you and your little one, a sponge brush, or just a regular brush if you don't have a sponge, and some water, and some colored chalk. Sidewalk chalk is best for little ones because it's big and chunky and they can hold it really well. And then if you don't have a table surface like this tablecloth and you want to keep your table safe from the water, I would recommend some newspaper. The first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to let Ollie help me here, is to wet our paper. We're going to imagine that it rained down on our paper and got it really soaking wet. The wetter, the better. You want to help me with this? Okay, so I'm going to let Ollie try on his. You're going to take your sponge brush, dip it in the water, Ollie, and then watch how Mama does it. Exactly. Just get your paper wet. Like I said, the wetter, the better. You can help your little one if they're a little bit younger than Ollie and need a hand to wet the paper. All right, I'm gonna stop there. Let me just get back to our PowerPoint. I wanna share that because you can see there's a little bit more formality to what we are. It doesn't let me scroll down it. There's a little bit more formality. Sorry, humor me as I have to go back to it again for some reason. I'm amazed at my son for sort of giving me the moment to speak. He has really gotten kind of used to how these videos have worked, but we do try to keep them brief for his sake, because where he is developmentally, and for the sake of our viewers. And we do offer these weekly. They are covering a wide variety of topics. And I think the real nugget for me here is that now that Piggy has taken over with creating some of these projects and doing the videos herself, Ollie and I have sort of taken a step back and stepped into the role of just being the caregiver and the child to do it together. So we do the project she's designed and we take pictures of us doing it, but it's not the same pressure, it's not the same experience, and it's given me the chance to step into the experience of our families trying this out. And it's been, I mean, Piggy is wonderful at what she does, and it's just been really lovely to be able to do that, and for Ollie and I to just have these honestly real moments together, captured on film, which I hope down the line I'll love seeing and having this whole year of his life recorded. You didn't see my littler one. I have another one, Charlie, who's 2, who does make it into some of the videos and may make it into some of our future toddler times. There's Ollie doing a rain stick project. This is one of our more recent projects, Recycled Rockets, again, inspired by another book, Penguinaut. If you have not read this, I highly recommend it. I just learned that the author, Marcy Colleen, is actually local. She is the neighbor of a friend of mine, and it's just a funny coincidence to figure that out. I just want to emphasize that none of what we have done in terms of creating kits, creating these experiences, would be possible with just us alone. Partnerships have been critical. And I know that's something a lot of people have said in this time of the pandemic as an organization. Partnerships are essential. We need to support each other, you know, really kind of fill the gaps for each other. In the case of our partnerships with our community organizations who receive the kits, or in the case of the educators who are receiving this virtual school visit, they're the ones that are doing the work of actually putting the kit into the hands of the students, into the hands of the families. And I have to emphasize that because that is an incredible amount of work. It takes coordination, it takes literal, you know, footwork of getting around and setting up these distribution sites or going to the families house by house. Our Lindsay school staff actually go to each girl's home to deliver the kits alongside other curriculum they've created for them. But it's, you know, if it weren't for that, it wouldn't be happening and functioning. So I'm just really grateful that we've had the chance to establish these partnerships previous to this pandemic, and to continue them and to support each other in our united effort of just helping our community. These are some of our current partners. These are ones who are primarily receiving kits and who we're working with and who are, again, part of this bigger wheel. Speaking of partnership, I do want to take a quick moment to give a thank you and shout out to Cal State San Marcos, the Arts Equals Opportunity team, as well as the STEAM ambassadors under Professor Solomon. We have been partnering or coming together with Arts Equals Opportunity and those colleagues there for many months, and sharing our efforts, trying to figure out how we can support each other, giving each other ideas and inspiration. One outcome from that was a partnership on a kit, actually 2 kits, and we designed the initial experience, and then the STEAM ambassadors, again led under Dr. Solomon, enhanced that experience with the real STEAM concepts. So we had designed a coffee filter butterfly project launching from the Very Hungry Caterpillar. So that was our starting place. The STEAM ambassadors came in and introduced the idea of pollinators, introduced these wonderful activities where you get to plant your own seeds, as well as create your own pollinator bat from a paper bag. Just really great. And then Arts Equals Opportunity was able to get these kits into the hands of teachers. And I'm just glad that that could come together. Similarly, we partnered on another experience where we designed a project for older students, drawing their perspective of their world as an eye, but really using symbolism and imagery and text. And then the STEAM partners offered the technical side of optics and how our eyes work like a camera, and invited students to think about that angle and also to create their own origami camera. So partnerships has been essential, and I'm so excited we're partnered with Arts Equals Opportunity, with Cal State San Marcos, and what's come from that. So the last piece, and then I'd love to field questions if you have them, is just what's next? We have been closed for almost a year. And in that time, we've done some of what I shared. Again, there's a lot more that we've experimented with, but that's kind of the core of what's been happening. And the real question is, what does the future look like? And I know that's a question we've all been asking ourselves a lot, and we don't have the answers, but we're trying to prepare for what it could look like. And we're trying to think through what we've learned from 2020 and how we can use that to inform our 2021 museum. So one of the things we do at the end of the calendar year is we look at impact. We look at numbers and we think about things in that format. But I think when we started 2021, we really wanted to also think about, first and foremost, the emotional impact of what we're offering and what we're all experiencing or have experienced through the pandemic. You know, to some degree or another, we've all experienced a degree of trauma. And we think a lot, of course, about all audiences, but kids always come to mind. And I was just reading an Instagram post yesterday or the day before from a caregiver sharing a pretty heart-wrenching story about her first grader who was working on an assignment through virtual learning and just kind of hit a rut and just had a real breakdown moment, feeling defeated and saying something along the lines of, you know, he was worried he was going to fail first grade. And this caregiver, you know, just her heart went out to her son, but she also had this aha moment of, you know, kids have been superheroes this last year. They have just been rolling with the punches. They have been, as best they can, you know, going with all this change. And I think so much about all of them and their learning experiences. Teachers are doing a fantastic job. It's just so hard to imagine what that's like day to day. I have educator friends and I hear stories, but we want to think about what we as an organization can do to support the healing that I think we all need, but kids need too. These are some pictures from our camp program. And, you know, we don't have this going on right now, but I love these faces, these smiles that come from what it is to make art and be together and connect through that and what it can bring to the soul. And so our focus for 2021, our kind of overarching umbrella for our content, is art is healing. And how can we tie into that? So toddler time as an example, we are in the month of February and our topic that we're sort of tuning into is love and comfort. This is a recent project that Piggy developed called Pillow Hugs. Again, like I said, I'm not doing the development side, but I get to do the trial with Ollie. So the idea is for a little one and their caregiver to talk about emotions openly, to use the feeling words and to think about how those feelings might translate into color, translate into mark. And that mark making can actually, that physical aspect can be an expression of feeling too. To use all that to create, well, really it's process, but in the end, they may end up creating a pillow or pillowcase that is illustrative of their feelings, and then using that as a source of comfort when their emotions get high in whatever way. So Ollie designed this happy rainbow pillow. He was feeling very joyful, and it's become a real sort of sunshine spot for him. So that's where we're thinking with our programming and trying to tie into that. We are also taking a whole new direction with our DIYs, our tutorials and lesson plans. We've received some funding from SCG&E to explore a STEAM series. And I do STEAM with a capital A. We're an arts-based organization, but we believe in STEAM. We've been doing STEAM through our Innovators Lab and other avenues for a while, but This honestly, for me as an educator, was the first time I had a moment to pause and explore STEAM and to think about it and to think about its applications through what we're doing as an organization, to think about what it means as a student to experience STEAM lessons and journeys. And so the projects we have designed will be less about how to and more about how might you. So we're presenting missions and we're presenting materials, but we're also giving some concrete information on the science connections, the math connections. But at the end of the day, it's about an approach, and that approach is different than what we've been doing. And we're excited about this. This first series will be 4 different lessons and videos offered out to kits to our partners, thanks to SDG&E, and then ultimately we will disseminate it more widely. It'll be freely offered through our different social media forums and website. Give it a couple of months, and if you're looking for it, it should be there. Reach out to me if you're really curious and want to learn more. And I want to say another shout out to the STEAM ambassadors and Dr. Solomon for meeting with me after I designed these lessons and talking through some of them together. They are such a wonderful resource and an amazing group of thinkers. The last few points are just what 2021 can look like as our organization jumps into it. We've done a lot of kits. We've counted how many kits we've done. We've counted how many videos we've done. And all that has meaning, but I think the real meaning is what's the actual impact? What's the real reach? When these kits leave us and they go into our partners' hands and then they leave our partners' hands, what's the experience that the family is having, the child is having? Is it working? So our focus for 2021 as we continue all of these virtual and deliverables is how to get more information on what's really working, on what that experience is. Like I said, it's helping me to do toddler time myself in that way, to think more about that. But that's really something we want to know more about, and we want to hear from those who are having these experiences. We are still designing inside the museum. So Panka, who I introduced earlier, is going to be is in the process, actually, the walls are being painted right now, creating this new installation, El Masaya. El Masaya is an other world. It's an imaginary world, and really it's about the world that you design for yourself. So you will get the chance to enter this world through this slide that, yes, will go from the top of our stairs all the way to the bottom. And then you'll be in this lower level and get to go through and see through murals that Panka's done, through different sort of hands-on building experiences, create your own world. And we're really excited about it, and we hope to have it available by the time we reopen. So the question is, when are we reopening? Maybe that's not your question, but that is a question we get a lot. And the answer is we don't know. We, like many organizations, are planning. We have many scenarios. We are working together as a small but mighty team to figure out what it would take to reopen, to figure out logistics and what that might look like initially and how we would build on that experience. And it will require, the full team that we are. So it will also require a shift from some of our current focus to all working together to make this happen. But we're really excited, and we want it more than anything. We all hear stories from families, from members, from teachers and students who miss the museum, and we miss them. It's just not the same without seeing kids. We did a live camp, a couple of camp weeks in the fall, and it was my first time outside of working with my own children that I saw kids again, and then I got to work with them and hear from them and hear their ideas and see them, just making connections and creating, and it fed me for a while. And I know we all miss that, and we miss the chance to get to know new families. So we're really looking forward to reopening sometime in 2021. Please keep an eye on our website or reach out to me if you'd like updates. And finally, in doing all of that, we have to reimagine the museum. I mean, we've already been doing a lot of that in this last year. The museum became a very different experience for us and for our visitors in 2020. 2021 is about thinking through what we have in our spaces and how we need to make changes to make it work in this new world we live in. For example, we have a really beloved space called No Rules Accept, which is where families can jump on mattresses and play with pillows and sort of, it's kind of like what you probably did as a kid. I know I did, kind of pull your mattress off your bed and jump on it. Well, we have that as a full room experience. And we don't know if that can be what it was. So we have to rethink that. And as someone that oversees early learner experiences, I have to think about our toddler spaces and how toddlers and their way of experiencing their world through mouthing, through interaction, through touch, how that can safely happen, and how caregivers can feel secure in being at the museum with that happening. So I don't have concrete determined ideas yet. I can tell you we have lots of them, but in terms of what we have decided on, it's still in the air, but we are coming up with a lot of plans and we look forward to trying them out soon, I hope. So I'll end my presentation there. Thank you so much for hanging on and listening and watching the videos and working with me through my my technical shifts. But I'm just really grateful that you had me here today, that I could share. I hope we can connect more. I'm really interested in that, and hopefully in having you all come to the museum sometime this year and to see some of what I shared and to really experience it with all of yourself. So I am happy to answer any questions or share more. So thank you so much.
I just want to say everyone can unmute their mic and give Amy a round of applause. Thank you so much. For coming today, Amy, and taking time on a Saturday to share all of the work that you have been doing with the New Children's Museum. We are so grateful to hear of the resources and maybe for some to see the possibilities in the future, if you are a teacher currently, or if you are a student teacher or an aspiring teacher. Also, the interest of STEM and engineering, innovation, makerspace, all of the things that you've provided to us today can be taken to another level. I'm looking at the toddler time and I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be done with 5th graders. So really, we are so grateful for all of the resources that you have given us today. Before everyone goes, we can take some questions for Amy if you want to put them in the chat. Could you please take a moment and provide some feedback for us about the event today? We are very grateful for your time and so excited to be in this community together of educators learning together. So thank you. Amy, just one question I did have for you. If people are interested in trying to set up a virtual field trip, how might they go about that?
Right. Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, if we're up for it again, I can try to share it via the website. Pull that up. All of the registration is done online, and here. All right, so we're here at the main page of the website. What you want to do is go to the tab Learn, and then within Learn, go to Educator.
You have muted yourself.
Okay, sorry, Amy, can you unmute yourself? I just everyone because there was some back noise. Okay, thank you.
No worries. So let me go. So I just went to the school and group visits page, and then what you'll see here is virtual school visits. So you can register right here. I won't click on this, but it's a very user-friendly form. I will share that we are currently offering virtual school visits through the month of May. We do have a capacity each month because, again, it takes a village to create those kits. So we are currently at capacity through March, but we do have availability in April and May. And I fully believe we will continue to offer the virtual school visits to some degree after the close of this academic year. So free for Title I schools. If you are not coming from a Title I school and cost is prohibitive, please reach out to me. The last slide on the presentation, I'll share that in a moment, is my contact. We just want to make this possible. So we don't want anything like that to be a barrier if this is something you feel can support you and your students. See if it'll let me do that. Let's do it. Okay, let me pull it right back up one more time. And then just. So okay, if you can see my email on the bottom, I really do invite you to reach out. Please be patient with me if my response time is a little bit lengthy. It's not for lack of interest. It's just, again, managing a lot right now, kind of soup to nuts, the department. So it's been really enjoyable, but quite a bit. And then juggling, sometimes literally juggling toddlers alongside that.
Amy, there's a question in the chat wondering if you will continue to have similar virtual content or the content that you have currently on the website. Will that be available once the museum has reopened?
Anything that we have created is archived on the website and will not go away. The question of will we create to the degree that we've been creating, I don't have a set answer for you. It is my interest to do that, and it is our overall agreement that virtual content needs to continue. In terms of the regularity of it, it might shift because, again, we have to come together. We're basically a team of 20, and together we need to reopen the museum. And we will be on the floor welcoming visitors and sharing the installations with them. So that might take away from some of our time in creating content, but we want this to be an ongoing, happening long-term. Excellent.
Another question. For middle schoolers and high schoolers, where should they go for for resources or project ideas and kit resources?
So I would say I have a couple of responses to that. The DIYs, the age 4 and up projects that I shared, Color and Light Catcher and some of the other examples, I think could be modified to suit the older age range. However, the ones that we have designed for the Lindsay School that Piggy has designed and that I shared, the Resist and Intersect lesson, all of those are available on the website in educator resources lesson plans. And I would encourage you to start there. You'll have the lesson plan, it's printable. You'll have Piggy's video taking you through the project. They can be modified. We have several of our partner organizations serve middle and high school students, including Monarch School, Camp Hope. We just brought on Sensory Friendly San Diego that serves teens with neurodiversity. And so we are using those lessons and repurposing them with those groups.
Thank you so much. Are videos also in Spanish for parents that don't know English?
Yes, I think that's a really important question. I will tell you that the virtual school visit program is in English and in Spanish. The videos, the content, everything is available in both languages. Our DIYs, we're not yet there. And part of that just comes down to resources, and it's not for lack of interest. So one mission that we have for this year is if we can pull together the funding to support translation costs, we are looking to do that. We do have some lessons that are available in English and Spanish because of partnerships we have where other organizations have had the resources and modified our lesson plans. But overall, I would say it's something we're still very much working on.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any other questions further, Amy? Okay, so I have recorded our session today, and I know a lot of you are asking if this will be made available. For those of you who are in coursework, I'm going to be emailing your instructors so that they can share that link with you or put it in their Cougar course container. For the others, I will make sure that everyone who is signed up for today gets the link, but that will happen earlier next week, Monday or Tuesday. That will be sent by the School of Education. So everyone should get that. If you did not receive a link for today, that means that your email address was entered wrong. So if you didn't receive a link but got the link from your course instructor or someone else, please email me so that I can make sure that you have access to the link for today. All right. Well, we are so grateful. Amy, thank you again so much for your time and your partnership and bringing the museum to Cal State San Marcos, to our community teachers through our art kit distribution. That was just amazing. We're just so happy. So I think you're going to have a lot more patrons.
I hope so. And I just want to say thank you again, Dr. Wood, for the invitation. Thank you, all of you, for being here on a Saturday morning, and for staying with me. And thank you for those who offered technical assistance along the way through my presentation. I very much appreciate it. And I truly hope that we can stay connected and continue to work together in some way. So thank you so much. Have a good rest of your Saturday and long weekend if you have one. And take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.